The Bud Brunch.
Pour up, roll up, let's talk. Cheers.
Welcome back to another episode of
The Bud Brunch.
I'm your co-host, Lucille.
And I'm your co-host, Ashley.
And we're back for another exciting episode. And not only are we back, but we're on location today.
In the beautiful Canna Ranch.
The Canna Cape Cod DC Canna Ranch.
That's a mouthful, but yeah, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. It's so beautiful here. The energy is amazing. Mm-hmm. Nicole sprinkled her magic all over.
Yeah.
She did.
It's definitely peaceful as well.
This is different though. This is our first on location interview.
Yeah. But if you want to listen to any of our old interviews, make sure you guys like and subscribe us on YouTube and Spotify. That is The Bud Brunch on everything.
On everything.
But this last week though, we did catch up with Lisa of Bad Appetit.
Lisa Scott. It was interesting talking to her. I feel like, she had been on the Montel Williams podcast, so she had a little celebrity on, but it was a good conversation. I enjoyed her interview.
Definitely humbling because she has come a long way from her beginnings in the pop-ups and to using her culinary skills to be able to keep alive through all the I-71 changes, and then creating the association, the DC Cannabis Business Association, in order to not only help herself, but other entrepreneurs in the space.
And that's such a insight into her character, that she wanted to help other entrepreneurs achieve what she's done because she got her processing license.
She did. And she got a grower's license too, which, we'll see what she's going to be able to do with that. But the fact that, she had gotten her lease on the same day that she did the show.
It was kismet. It was. And I love how she shared like her first experience with cannabis being medicinal because she was having all that trouble, with her knee. But all the details, all the tea, if you guys want to hear Lisa's interview, which was incredible, make sure you go back and check out episode 4
on YouTube or Spotify. The Bud Brunch on everything.
On everything. But yeah, today we are here on location, like we said, with Nicole.
We in the house with the birds.
Yes, the chirp.
So if you guys hear a little, background noise, that is part of the experience here at Canna Cape Cod.
Yeah, they just add a little spice to it.
Yeah.
I can't believe she did this whole little spread for us with the charcuterie board. Her hospitality is unmatched, honey.
From the time you get here to the time you leave, all you can just enjoy in the atmosphere. It's beverages when you walk in the door. I can't wait to hop on the massage chair. But anyways, we can talk about the Canna Ranch all we want, but we're not here to talk about the ranch. We're talking about the owner of the ranch.
Right, exactly.
We're going to sit down with Nicole Butler herself, the founder of Canna Cape Cod DC, and the first all-inclusive bud and breakfast on the East Coast. And she's doing big things in cannabis and hospitality. So buds, if you're ready, roll up your J and pour up that Canna cocktail and pull up to the Bud Brunch table where we're going to have Nicole Butler of Canna Cape Cod DC.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, this is what is it that you have over there, honey? What is in your glass?
Well, in my glass bowl, I have a salad, ho.
Okay, it's different.
I'm watching my figure.
Okay.
What's going on, y'all? I'm Zal being invited with the Bud Brunch. Pour up, roll up, and start.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Tea with Ashley, your weekly pour of what's hot in cannabis culture, medicine, industry buzz, and the headlines that's got everybody talking. So let's get into it. Okay, so boom. DC is showing up and showing out for the culture once again, y'all. The National Cannabis Festival just announced their 2025 music lineup. And baby, it's giving Legacy. It's giving Stoner Symphony. It's giving Roll Up and Don't Be Late. This year's headliners, Big Boy, 3 6 Mafia, Thai dollar sign, and currency. Yeah, you heard me right. This is a sesh-worthy soundtrack if I've ever heard one. And if you're not already hip, we actually had the visionary behind all of this, Caroline Phillips, on episode 3 of the Bud Brunch. So if you haven't listened to that one yet, do yourself a favor and go check it out right now. But wait, we're not just talking about the festival. Your favorite podcast hosts, me and Lucille, are pulling up in real life at the National Cannabis Festival this year. On Friday, we're doing Canna cocktails, and Saturday, we're hosting a sister sesh. So keep your eyes on the National Cannabis Festival website, and all the details will be dropping soon. This isn't just a concert, it's a movement. The National Cannabis Festival is where activism meets artistry, where Black voices take the main stage, and where cannabis isn't just accepted, it's celebrated. So if you've never been, this is the year to show up, and if you have been, you already know the vibes. This is your pour for this week. Stay lifted, stay tuned, and I'll catch you next time on Tea with Ashley, where I spill the tea and spark the convo. Now go sip on that. All right, buds, it's time to get into what's in your glass, the part of the show where we sip, sample, and spill on the latest cannabis and cannabis-infused treats. From flower to edibles, drinks to dabs, we're putting our taste buds to the test and letting y'all know what's really hitting and what's getting passed. Want to be in our glass?
You know you want to.
If your product hits, whether it's drinkable, smokable, or snackable, we just might feature it on What's in Your Glass. Slide into our DMs at the Bud Brunch on Insta, and let's toast to that.
Cheers.
So what do you have in your glass over there, Lucia?
Well, in my glass bowl, I'm eating a salad because I'm trying to get ready for the summer.
Okay, summer body loading.
And in the same breath, I also want to get lifted. So I added some of this Lucille Verde Essentials line. It's a product from the Lucille Verde Essential line. Mm-hmm. It is the Edward collection. And so to help with the calories, instead of my normal dressing, I'm using this olive oil that is infused.
Okay. Nice.
Yes, it's infused, and I drizzled that on my salad. And then
so it's just an olive
indulging.
Oil you can use on whatever you would usually put olive oil on. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a different way to consume. That's kind of unique.
It's an adult way.
Okay.
We're very mature.
Sophisticated
if
stoners.
You will. Yes. I can, take this with me when I'm at the little restaurant or something. I can jizz up my meal. So it's really convenient. It comes in this nice, cute little glass bottle. Mm-hmm. I like it because the top is really secure. Because, sometimes you put oil in something and, you put it, it may not sit up right, and it might leak a little bit. It
spills everywhere.
Yeah. So this is a really great, nice, secure containers, and it's 200 milligrams per bottle.
Oh, that's a nice,
so
generous
nice,
serving.
Healthy serving here. I think you can get about, I think it's 6 to 8 tablespoons out of a serving, a bottle. So it's a nice, little dosage for the bottle. It kind of gets there. So that's about 25 milligrams.
What you're not going to do is make me do math. You are not about to make me do math.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be doing much math after I finish this salad.
Well, we will check in with you later on in the episode and see how it's got you feeling, girl. All right. All right, buds, can y'all give me a minute? A medical minute, that is. I'm here to shed new light on what's happening in the world of medical cannabis and to set the record straight on the myths, the facts, and everything in between. This week, we're diving into a serious one. Parkinson's disease. According to a randomized clinical trial published by the Parkinsonism and Related Disorders, a daily dose of just 26 milligrams of CBD was not only safe, but actually improved cognitive performance in people with Parkinson's. Now, let's just put that into perspective. Parkinson's affects around 1.1 million Americans, and nearly 90,000 new cases are diagnosed in the U.S. every year. Worldwide, it's over 10 million. And while we often think about it as something that only affects the elderly, about 4% of diagnoses happen in people under 50. Traditional Parkinson's medications come with a long list of side effects: nausea, dizziness, sleep disturbance, even involuntary movements called dyskinesia. So the fact that CBD could offer relief without the added baggage, that's huge. And here's the kicker: CBD isn't intoxicating. That means folks are seeing real symptom relief without getting high. For people who may be new to cannabis or hesitant to try THC, that's a game changer. Because face it, everybody doesn't like the feeling of being high. That's just a fact. But we all can benefit from cannabis medicine. And we're talking real clinical data, not just word of mouth. That's your dose of facts for this week's Medical Minute with your favorite cannabis educator. Keep questioning, keep learning, and catch me next week for more. And if you want to dive deeper into the medical cannabis topics that matter to you, hit up cannabisashley.com.
Yeah, this on Emo, baby. And I'm excited to be a part of the Bud Brunch convo. Culture, community, and real conversation.
Today's guest is a force in cannabis hospitality, redefining what it means to rest, recharge, and elevate. Nicole Butler is the founder of Canna Cape Cod, the first all-inclusive bud and breakfast on the East Coast, and the creator of Lucille Verde, a lifestyle brand rooted in plant medicine.
That girl.
She's since expanded her vision with the launch of Canna Ranch. From Canna Cape Cod DC to her latest ventures, Nicole is creating intentional spaces where cannabis, wellness, and community meet. She's an educator, innovator, and leader in the push for a more inclusive and restorative cannabis experience. We're excited to dive into her story. Are you ready, buds? Pour up.
Roll up.
Let's talk. Blaze word alert. Our guest doesn't know it, but anytime you hear today's blaze word during this episode,
If you're 21 and over, we need you to spark something or sip your Canna cocktail.
cheers. Hit it, sip it, and stay locked in.
This episode's blaze word is bud and breakfast.
Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, thank you for having us. We are live on site at the Canna Cape Cod DC Ranch.
Yes.
Number 3. Canna Cape Cod number 3.
Number 3, absolutely.
Now, I remember number 1. Not only do I remember number 1, and this is something that we do like to ask our guests as we come onto the show. And I know you know. Do you remember how we met?
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Yes. So we met through an ex.
Yeah.
Of mine.
They're one of her. So he was her ex, and I knew him from a course, a paralegal course that I had, a program that I had went through one time. So yes, I am a paralegal. Hire me.
Yeah.
Period.
But yes. So an ex, but still a very current supporter of, the business. I like.
Yes.
I don't like to burn bridges, even in relationships. But yes, he had talked to me about, he knew that I was getting into edibles. He knew that, people were really liking, I've always loved to cook, but I started off in sweets, which was kind of outside of my comfort zone, to be honest. At the time, I just didn't really think anybody wanted infused oxtails. And then come to find out,
I love me.
they
That's
did.
all they wanted.
Right. That's
Right. They were
exactly
like,
what they wanted. But
Damn, this cookie and brownies.
I started, like everybody else, with brownies and cookies and just the staples of, bacon. And when you came to him with an opportunity to present edibles to some very prominent people in the DC cannabis scene, he was like, babe, you got to do this, right? So, yeah, he introduced us.
We went and we sat, we had brunch.
We had brunch, all three of us. We did. We had brunch. And
The rest is history.
I
remember I actually took her edibles to Phone Homie's show.
To the Christmas show, which was
Was
also
it the
his
Christmas
birthday
Okay,
show.
It was his birthday.
It was his
I
birthday
remember
show.
that.
And not only did Phone Homie not know me, I never got a chance to meet him in person, Rico. And I never got a chance to meet him in person, but our stories were so intertwined because not only did he accept the gift from an unknown baker in the community.
We usually charge for this, but I'm going to do you this.
He set them on the table in front of the camera for a 2-hour Christmas special. Back then we were the hippest crumb. THC, I still use the hippest crumb, some on Facebook. But he said it right there, prominent in the camera for 2 hours, talked about the edibles. It was such a high. Like I was doing my own thing in my little bubble, but I was not aware at the time that there was a community.
Yeah.
And just the, just teaming up with everybody just made everything just really snowball and just go fast forward. So that was, I always appreciate you for that. I will never, ever, ever forget you for that. Like that's just, that's been amazing. And like I said, we never met. I never actually met him in person, but several occasions where, our stories intertwined. So that was actually an honor.
And so did I actually help you? Like, how did that go? Like, I didn't even.
You know what? It introduced me to people like Scrogger, Mangani.
Right, they were like, who was this?
Yeah, and then I eventually went on to cook at some of the pop-ups. We were down at the Elroy slinging mac and cheese.
At the Elroy.
Yep. And it's so funny. I have a current guest now. She missed the last 2 locations, but she's been coming to the Canna Ranch consistently. She met me at the Elroy.
What?
So, yes. When I say the plants,
went outside.
the plants that the seeds that we plant, oh man, it might take a while to blossom, but they do blossom. If you water them, they will blossom.
So let's rewind though, because you said that you were making sweet edibles. What was your history with the plant? When did you first start consuming, and when did that turn into you making edibles? Like, what inspired that?
You know what? So I started smoking around 19. I have a 30, 31, 32 year history with the plant. Just, casually, like everybody, smoking. My parents were stoners. My mother still is. My father definitely would be if he was here. But so I've always had a healthy relationship with the plant. Even, in the 90s, 80s, when they were saying, say no to drugs and the gateway drug and all this stuff, I heard it, but I also always had my mom at home consuming responsibly. And I was able to see, her come home from work tired, maybe a little aggravated, and then she go in her room for a few minutes, open her window, and when she comes out, that's the mom that I knew.
Oh, wow.
So I was always able to witness the plant as a positive, medicine, as a positive lifestyle. So no matter what Nancy Reagan and them was saying, I knew what we did in my house.
Home. Yes.
So, I've always had a healthy relationship with the plant, even through all the stigma and everything. But honestly, I never, my love and my dream of hospitality was my first love. Being able to combine that with cannabis has just been like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
I went to my first bed and breakfast against my will. I will say it was against my will. I wanted to go to Miami. And this guy took me to a bed and breakfast, no weed, no nothing, in Lexington, Virginia.
Oh.
I was not a happy camper.
Never
I was not a happy camper. Matter of fact, I didn't even want to get out of the car. And he made it a surprise. He made it seem like we were lost, like we were going to knock on these people's door and ask them for directions.
I love that.
I was like, I'm going to sit in the car. I said, I'm going to sit in the car with my foot on the gas. And when I see you coming out running, I will start the car moving. Like, that was my whole attitude. This big old, I just could not even imagine that we, 19, 20-year-old, kids pretty much would be welcome in this fabulous place.
Right.
And honestly, the people opened the door. They greeted us by name. They, welcomed us. I didn't know he had packed me a bag. Like, it was just such a... But just...
They don't make them like that anymore, right?
He was an old soul. And that's why I was saying, I wanted to go to Miami.
He was ready to turn out.
I was ready to turn up. And now I'm sitting around the freaking fireplace sipping sherry with a 40-year-old couple. And I'm like, no, this is really the life.
This is a vibe.
Yeah.
But just I'll never forget, the feeling that I had. Because like I said, I was aggravated going in and just standing in the foyer looking around. They had the fireplace going, all the smells were good, and I just remember thinking to myself, this is the type of peace that I want to provide to people one day.
So it sparked your curiosity,
it was
right?
My mother worked in hotels, concierge, and so I was always around hospitality and that sort of thing. So that was honestly my first passion. A bed and breakfast was my retirement goal.
Oh wow.
That was my
so
retirement
you
goal.
was already, but way before.
Because I was in the
Yeah,
salon. I
71.
wasn't ready to give up, the salon situation. But I always knew that, like, okay, once this is done,
Not that salon, guys. She was a hairdresser.
a
Yes.
hairstyle.
I get that confused. No, because a lot of sex workers have transitioned
Oh my!
Oh, I didn't know
into
that.
cannabis because they are.
But wait, salon has a double meaning.
Salon.
Yeah,
What
you
is
know, I've never heard
salon?
of
I've heard saloon.
Well, salon,
Oh,
same shit.
Oh, okay. Well, no, beauty parlor, honey. I was in the
Okay.
beauty parlor. I was a beautician.
You know they can't.
So-
I remember when you did my hair, honey. Had me looking fly
I
with the
did
cut.
do your hair, yes.
Fly with the cut.
So, I definitely was in the thick of building my, beauty business. So
Your hair empire.
I kept the bed and breakfast situation on the back burner, and then honestly, the pandemic just kind of flipped the world on its head,
Yes.
and made it come about sooner.
Well, we met in 17? Yeah, that was around 2017. 2016,
About 20, yeah, about 9 years.
2017.
Yep,
That was
absolutely.
before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic.
So what made you decide, hey, instead of me just slanging my edibles to people
Well, yeah.
and showing up at numerous pop-ups
Uh-huh.
with all my, equipment and setting up and everything, what made you open your doors and allow people to come to you instead?
You know what?
Because you had some great events in the beginning.
So, first of all, I'm
Well,
an only
you still
child.
have good events.
I'm an only child. I have to preface with that.
Yeah.
So I've always been the type to surround myself with people. Like, I love people. Mm-hmm. And, like, I've heard people say, like, oh, I've done enough peopling for today, or people just drain me, or whatever. Like, people literally fuel me. Mm-hmm. Like, I being without people drains me. Mm-hmm. So, my first party, ironically, was a wine tasting.
I remember that.
My first party was a wine tasting. 85 people came. It was 85 degrees outside, and I had no central AC.
Oh.
And but you know what? Once the plant gets to
best
passing
thing.
around, we were
You don't even
sweaty
know.
and
So much
high. I got pictures. We were so sweaty. Everybody
fell
was
off the hammock.
glistening. It was just such a vibe, and I don't like to go out. I'm a very indoor person, so in order for me to experience people, I kind of have to open my home. Mm-hmm. I have to bring the party to me because I ain't going to the party. Mm-hmm. It's just I like a crowd. I like a vibe that I have cultivated.
It's some Cancer in your chart somewhere. They love to make their home comfortable so people come.
Yeah, and like I said, that when I walked into the Hummingbird Inn, is still in operation in Lexington, Virginia. When I walked into those people's home, how stressed could I have been at 19? But we feel like the world is crashing in on us. But I just remember the feeling of just weight coming off, the arguing in the car about being lost, just everything. He wasn't a smoker, so I didn't smoke in his car. So it was just a long ride to be lost in a car that you can't smoke in. So I just remember just the weight coming off of me, and I knew that was something that people needed to experience.
It's definitely a difference between a resort or hotel type experience and a bed and breakfast.
Right. And then, like I said, adding cannabis was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, when I listed myself originally, we're not on Airbnb anymore, but when I originally listed on Airbnb, my biggest fear was attracting non-smokers and then me having to clean up my act to accommodate people in my home. And then I did some research, and they were like, since cannabis has become decrammed, or however they worded it initially, they were saying that it is okay to list yourself as 420 friendly on these platforms. So that's what I did. Yeah, I did it.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history. So we didn't start off all inclusive. We just started off as a safe place to consume. We'll give you an ashtray. I might share a little weed with you while you're waiting on your delivery or whatever. But it has really grown and evolved organically into this whole situation. So when people say, how did you think of it? I don't think I could have really thought of this.
Right, because I was just saying, people were doing pop-ups And
It evolved.
like out, left and right, and they were making a lot of money.
They were making a lot of money.
But you were just like, this is not really for me. I'm gonna be
Yeah, you know what? It never felt completely safe to me. It was almost too good to be true. Like the first time I sat, I'll never forget it. I sat at the bar at the Manor. I don't even know if the Manor is still around, honey. But I sat at the bar at the Manor with a J in this hand and a drink in this one, and I felt like I had died and gone to Amsterdam. Like it just felt like it just was overwhelming. I'm sitting here, I'm socializing, bullshitting with the bartender, talking to some people. I went and grabbed some mac and cheese from, it was just like, it was amazing. And I just was like, this ain't gonna last too long. No. It was too
You
good.
foreseen the future of I-71, and yes, being in those public spaces with a gray area and the law, it was like, you didn't see a future in that, and that made sense.
No.
But I want to do this because you're a mother yourself, and so bringing that to your home, how did you, I guess, introduce cannabis to your children? And what are ways that you felt that, how important was it that for you to, I don't want to say include them in your business, but for them to understand what it is you do and the importance of what it is that you do?
Good question. Because when I first started this, they were very young.
I remember.
And I stopped smoking. Well, I was, pregnant 2 years back to back. Definitely did not smoke or consume throughout my whole pregnancy. That was 2008 and 2010. I don't know, how I would handle a pregnancy now. Honestly, like there was severe morning sickness that I fought through. Of course, maybe not light up a J, but I'm definitely not opposed to. I'm not opposed to mothers doing what they got to do to survive pregnancy.
It's tough.
On your body, mentally and physically.
Before you meet that little thing, it's just a parasite.
Yeah.
So it's taking everything you got.
It's not.
So
I had a really great pregnancy. It's like,
what my second one was, and my first one ended up really great. But like I said, I didn't consume for about 3 years through the pregnancy, through the breastfeed, and once they went to food and got off of me. I definitely brought cannabis. I definitely brought the plant back into my life, into my system. And I tell you what, I never regretted. One of the main reasons why I never regret being a pop mom is because I struggled. I struggled for that first 6-7 months when I was trying to be,
the good mom, right?
I just felt like
the role model mother.
You're in a different stage of life. You got 2 babies. They're 12 months and 16 days apart. I just felt like, you don't have time for cannabis. You don't have extra money for cannabis. You just don't have, it's just not going to be part of your lifestyle right now. Like you can't go outside and leave the babies. You can't smoke inside with the babies. It just kind of felt like
there was
something
no way
that
out.
I had to let go. And I found myself in a situation with a lot of family around, some younger cousins, and I was able to kind of sneak out and, grab a smoke. And it was a blunt. Boy, they brought me back into the game with a blunt. And I hadn't smoked in 3 years. And honestly.
Oh, wow, it was a 3-year break.
Yeah, because she had back-to-back kids.
3-year break.
And then,
absolutely. 3-year break. And I smoked a blunt with my cousins, and I came back in the house. Like I said, my babies were fine. 3 generations in the house. So I, did all the stuff, washed up, hand sanitizer, mouthwash, just everything. I got to, get back to my babies. When the first hour I spent with them on the plant,
medicated.
I learned more about those 2 babies in 1 hour than I had learned about the 2 of them in 11 months.
Wow.
Like it was a connection.
Like a hyper focus, yeah.
It was a hyper focus. Like all of a sudden, like the cries were different. The cries meant something. The cries became a language versus a nuisance. Like it was just such I connected with them. It's like I unlocked the part of my brain that I needed to be a mother. And I was trying to suppress that.
And I think some people may not be able to connect with that because you're having 2 kids under 2. They don't speak normally, or you know, like
Right.
they're not able to verbally communicate
Right.
their needs to you. And then they're 2 different personalities. So like,
They're night
yeah,
and day. My boys are night and day.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely can relate to that as, you know, being a mother of
Yeah, and
children that
I
have
feel
that
like
to
they're
that.
getting the best possible version of me.
Yeah.
They're absolutely getting the best possible version.
But what
of
about
me.
when you had events and, you know, maybe after the aftermath of the event
So I
of having so much
co-parent.
weed and all the stuff
No,
around
so
the house?
I co-parent, so that
Uh-huh.
definitely helps. I can, kind of time my parties and my big things to where they're not home. Their dad's house.
But when do they come home? Now I know obviously they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
there during the party because you know they're not of legal age to consume.
Right.
But you know, they're coming home, maybe seeing a product somewhere, a roach in the ashtray.
So we've never,
things of that nature.
I've never hid I don't smoke around them, but there's the trays. I don't hide. I don't hide my cannabis juice from my kids. I'm very, I'm very vocal about what it does for me. And then, like I said, the same thing that I witnessed with my mother, I would like to think that, they see in
that
me.
with
You
you.
When I
normalize
really
it.
have to just say, can I just have one moment, please? And
Mm-hmm.
they know what that means. I'm gonna either go out back or I'm gonna do, and then it's like, okay, now how can I help you? So I really feel like they're getting the best version of me. If I was not consuming, it's just, I'm
Not
just
yourself.
not as great. I'm
Yeah.
just not, it's
And
just
with the
not
stress
me.
of motherhood, you would think that people would kind of, I guess, make it more acceptable for mothers
Absolutely,
to consume.
absolutely. I mean,
'Cause
an
it is
evening glass
stressful.
of wine has become totally
Same
acceptable.
thing. Same thing.
You
Yeah.
know, better, way
Right.
better.
More socially acceptable
right,
as well.
right.
Absolutely. And so with that, what would you say to parents that are struggling to come out to their children about their consumption?
Honestly, I would say everybody act at their own comfort level with their children. I, like there's so many ways to consume now. You know what I mean? Like when I first started smoking, it was that or a brownie. You had,
Right, yeah.
Now, you got your vapes, you got your RSO tablets,
Your water.
you got your water. Like literally, I just, I was finishing up a THC water today. It's so many ways to consume that, like, I say have that conversation if you're comfortable having that conversation. If not, find discreet ways to consume. But I don't think, one should have anything to do with the other.
Got
I don't
it.
think you should not consume because you don't feel comfortable talking to your kids. Consuming might open your brain up to a way to approach it with your kids, or So I think everybody, to each his own with your children. To each his own with your children. I think my children are they're just so accepting of me. And I'm glad that I have 2 of them. I'm glad that I have 2 of them
Yeah.
because, they can just kind of like give each other the, mama crazy type thing.
Yeah.
But they have each other to do that with.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
But yeah, I say to everybody with their own comfort level with their kids. I talk about the plant with my kids. I talk about the grow. My kids are involved with the watering now.
Yeah.
With the plant, like they know about, the schedule and the trichomes. Like I really make it educational. And the thing is, they have no desire to consume.
Get
They
outta
have no
here.
desire to consume. My youngest asked me the other day, he's like, Mom, do I have to be a cannabis because you are a cannabis? And I said, first of all, you couldn't be a cannabis on your best day.
Right.
So it's like they know stuff, but then they're still so, green with
I
it
asked
too.
my son
like-
about that one time. He was like, I hate the smell. I was
Well, see,
like,
that's the thing. That's like the flip side of it. What your parents do isn't cool.
right. True.
So I've made cannabis uncool to my kids. So, they will definitely be involved in this business because I am planning to build an empire that will be passed to them. But they don't have to consume to, run the Canna
business.
Ranch or the
Yeah.
Canna Mansion or the Canna Castle or wherever we go.
All of
from
that.
here.
All of that. We
They
speak
do
in that.
not
Well,
have
let's
the
get
consent.
back to your business, because outside of running the Airbnb, you actually partner with other businesses to kind of help promote them and give them a platform, since you've created such a solid one for yourself. Can you share with us about like how you are incorporating other and small independent businesses into
Absolutely.
making your space a whole one-stop shop for people that
Absolutely,
come
yes. So, the Bud and Breakfast is all inclusive. It is all inclusive. So
through? What
there-
that mean?
Literally, you book your stay. It is an experience that comes with everything that you see. Like, people ask me all the time, oh, can we make a drink? Can we do this? I say, listen, if I did not want you to have it, I would have put it up.
Right.
If you see it, it is available to you. So, when people come here, they get a Bud bar sampler. So it is part of your package. There is no, no nickel and diamond.
No
Once you get here,
add-ons.
you get everything. You get your Bud sampler, so you actually get to play Bud tender for the week or
yourself,
weekend, or
yeah.
you get to play Bud tender. And I try to pick strains with, specific terpene profiles to give people a variety. Some people come here like, don't give me no sour, don't give me no glue. Like, I get real cannabis connoisseurs that, know
what they want.
exactly what they, or they at least know exactly what they don't want. Like, people, some people have just overrun. So, but for the people that come from illegal states, I love getting guests from illegal states still, because they are so just pleasantly overwhelmed when they get here, and they want to try everything.
Yeah.
They want to try the runs, the cookies, the cake, the everything. So I love introducing people to a broader range of cannabis. But I almost forgot the question. I'm just
It's okay
talking-
about you incorporating the art.
conversation,
Now you
though.
have so many options. You
So,
can't possibly make all that yourself.
I cannot.
Right.
Actually, honestly, I just came out with the Lucille Verde signature line.
Yeah.
And that was something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Because I transitioned from sweets to savories in probably 2019. I saw people getting into the edible game with like some real talent in the kitchen, pastry chefs.
Actually, you were
and
talking
stuff.
about that, like
And
real
I
chefs.
was literally baking
transition.
like Ghirardelli brownies
Yes.
and Betty Crocker cookies. And don't get me wrong, people love them because I could follow the hell out of a recipe now.
Yes.
And they were strong. Like, that's back when the edibles tasted like
Oh my
weed.
gosh, and they would
if you didn't
knock
taste
you
the
out.
weed,
It
you
wasn't
didn't want
enough.
it.
For days.
Now, we've matured. We know how to clean the weed better and make, and have the weed be more of a aromatic than a taste. But back in the day, I was throwing it all in there and putting it in the brownies and just. But I bowed out of the sweets arena because, like I said, I saw people putting their heart and soul
Oversaturated.
into red velvet cheesecakes
Yes.
and I said, you know what? I cook from the
Do
heart.
what you do best.
I bake from a recipe.
Yeah.
So I started infusing pork chops and herb rice, and But to answer your question, yes, it truly, back when I was just making batches of butter and then throwing them into pans of brownies, that was easy. But then you start fulfilling more orders and start having more events, and it's like, okay, I can get oil from one of the other people in the community that only do that, or I can get RSO or
And they do it well.
and
Not
they
only
do
that.
it really well.
Yeah.
So we have a couple signature lines here. District Elixir, we work hand in hand with them.
She has great products, by the way.
Tinctures, cookies. Oh my gosh, just the packaged stuff is amazing. But she brings specialty desserts to events, and it is just incredible. Chef Rosen, his signature line is amazing for like hot sauces and lemon
Rosen?
peppers and stuff.
Is it Rose?
I thought it
Rose.
was.
I was
I've been
Rosenstein.
pronouncing it wrong all
You know
this
what? To be
time.
honest, I really don't pronounce it often, so I don't even know.
Because
if
I thought
I've
it was
ever
like
said it.
rosin, like resin from weed.
But that's his actual last name.
Oh.
He's Jewish, you know.
Shut the front door.
He's Jewish. Chef is
Listen,
Jewish.
We was over here like, that's
Chef
a
is
weed
Jewish.
reference right
no,
there.
it is literally. I if I had to guess, I would say it was Daniel Rosen.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I think.
See, a lot of people don't even know that you can infuse stuff like a hot sauce. You know what I mean?
That
Right.
I tell people anything with a fat source,
Right.
or that can start as an alcohol source, you can infuse it. And that was really what the Lucille Verde Essentials lines was about, was keeping the calories low, the sugar low, but the milligrams high. Like,
Can you tell people what that is? The
Essentials line?
Mm-hmm.
So, this year, well, a lot of stuff happened last year. 2024 was big for Canna Cape Cod DC. That's when we made the decision to relocate. That's when we started growing our own product, which was a game changer. We started testing our own product, which is insane. Just really just appreciating the plant more and not going on, people's word of what you're being told stuff
Right.
is, but actually
Doing the research.
popping seeds and
Yeah.
cultivating your own stuff. Yeah. So, but with growing, there's so much byproduct. There's so much, and
Yeah.
everything has THC in it. The trim,
The stems.
the leaf, like everything has THC in it. So, it just seems so wasteful to get rid of the plant. And we were like, you know what? We have to throw that into a product line. So we have, right now we have an olive oil, an avocado oil. So healthy, for the mature stoners. Some of us got 30 years under our belt.
Yeah.
So, we
Or more.
right.
Or
Stoners,
more.
stoners are pushing 50, 60, 70,
Yeah.
80. I had a woman here that came for her 65th birthday.
Wow.
She told me it was a mother-daughter trip.
I love.
I was expecting her daughter. No, she brought her mother.
Hold on,
Yes,
the 65-year-old
was the daughter.
was the daughter. And that
she
shocked the
brought
shit out of
her-
me. Yes.
Wow.
She brought her mother. So all of
What a
these things get me to
blessing.
thinking. And mom was a hardcore stoner, like
Yeah,
old
she's a
hippie
hippie
chick.
back in her
Yes,
days.
absolutely. So all of those things got me to thinking about the needs of the mature stoner. Granny, well, she actually went by Nanny. Nanny can't eat a brownie, but Nanny probably could. She wasn't your average 82-year-old.
Right.
But most people in that age range are really watching, their
What they eat,
A1C,
what they take
their
in,
cholesterol,
right.
their blood pressure. So I really wanted to do something to address, the stoner in my age range and above. So that's what the Lucille Verde Essentials are. I called it the Edward because it's just a little Eddie, but all grown up.
I
grown
love that.
up.
When I
So-
heard that, I was like,
I put a little bow tie on them, to give them a little
Yes.
sophistication. But like I said, everything is tested. The flour is tested before it goes into the product, and then the product is tested in the end. So we want to make sure that everything we say we're giving you, we're
accurate,
giving
yeah.
you. Absolutely. I like to think like, I'm sure guys were sliding into your DMs all the time.
Right.
No,
they weren't. Shit is dry.
shit is right, right? Like guys
you know
were
what I
not
think?
sliding into my
would-
DMs.
And I was the same way, but I feel like with people that are like bosses, that are like,
You
weren't
intimidate
out
some
there shaking
people.
your ass
Right.
and just like taking all these pretty cute pictures. You were actually doing something, and men are intimidated by that.
Yeah, I definitely, but you want to intimidate some. Only the strong survive, honey. So, this ain't for everybody. But yeah, it was. I mean, I ain't gonna say I fell for the first dude that slid in my DMs, but kinda like DMs was dry. I mean, I get more weed questions in my DMs.
Yep,
I
I
get
know.
more
I get more
strain
requests for ounces
suggestions. I get more like I suffer from severe this or severe that, or have you ever had a strain that dealt with this? So I get a lot of cannabis questions, which I enjoy because if I don't know, I'll
Figure it
I'll
out.
figure it out. I'll do some research. I'll call up Jay. I'll call up Scrogger. I'll find out, and I let people know. I'll get back
Give
to
me
you
a
on that
minute.
one. Yeah, I got a whole community of knowledgeable
People
stoners and gromies and all of that.
that you've cultivated through your bud and breakfast.
Through the bud and breakfast. Yep, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
The mics are back. Hotter than hot. Hotter than hot.
I feel like you have like a sweet spot. Is mine on? I feel like you have a
Sorry, you were turned down. Hold on, let me turn you back up.
a sweet spot
There you go.
where sometimes you're on the side, and then when you get like right here, it's It's like perfect, the perfect level.
Who? Me?
Yours.
Okay, so what? Stay right here. Gotcha.
Because you can hear it kind of go down when you're...
No, but you know what? For a while, my mic wasn't
Around.
even on. Yeah, because I had muted it for the birds, but I could still hear myself as if
Through
it was
her mic.
on. So I think we should be
That
all
was
right
like
with that
your
because it was. But I can isolate that and raise my voice for those parts. But
Okay.
It's better now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that's what I was about to say. I was trying to like signal you.
Oh,
to-
okay. I didn't know. I thought you was
didn't know what I
feeling
was
it.
doing.
I thought you was in the
Having a
zone,
moment.
and I was like, "Let me come up with another question. I'm gonna see what you gonna do next."
Y'all are crazy.
All right. So I think we kind of like skipped a little bit into this because the Edward is like, we kind of fast forward speech act till now. I want to go back because you're on Canna Cape Cod 3.
Yes.
There were 2 other venues, locations before this.
Yep.
And I think I want to just tap into hosting because when you host things, you have to take on a lot outside of the logistics and things. And I
Right.
know that and as fostering this community, you bring a lot of different people into one space.
Absolutely.
And when you bring people into those spaces, they come with their
Their own energies. Everybody has their own vibe. You know, I honestly.
how do you manage that?
So, yes. So, like you said, this is the 3rd location. We literally went from 900 square feet to 1,800 square feet to now 6,300 square feet. So,
Insane.
the square footage helps me manage people a lot because people will literally find their tribe within the tribe.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'll have 5, 6, 15 different conversations and different vibes going on within,
The
you know,
event.
one gathering. So, you know, that definitely helps being able to spread people out. I'm definitely finding it easier to do here than at the other place. You know, it was rare, but there were a few instances where I could notice that, you know, one stoner might be a little irritated by another, or everybody's vibe just
There
doesn't
were no
click.
vibe. Yeah.
But the one thing that I will say about the plant, because, you know, 2 people that don't vibe on vodka, you're going to know it.
Right.
You're going to know it.
Quickly.
You're going to know it. Two,
Yeah.
2, 3 drinks in, they're not going to be able to hide it. Whereas 2, 3 J's in, they actually tolerate each other more and better. So honestly, you know, I have created the space, but the plant is the oil
They're
that
the
literally
mediator.
keeps this
Yeah.
thing going
Because you've been also incident free.
totally incident free. Totally
And
And
incident
for
free.
any establishment, that's an
Right.
accomplishment.
Totally incident free. We've never, nobody is not welcome back. Anybody that's ever been here is still welcome here. There's not a single person that has been banned from the premises or I wish they just wouldn't show up. Like, everybody is welcome here.
And that's the difference between alcohol and
the
cannabis.
cannabis.
Because a lot of
Exactly.
bars out there cannot say that.
Right,
Exactly.
facts.
Yeah, they got whole ban list, and that's not the case here. We don't have those kind of problems here. So,
But you've also supported people through different things. I know me personally, you were there for me during, you know, me becoming a full-time single mom and offering to be my baby daddy.
absolutely.
As I was in the
First of all,
search.
our kids just absolutely adore each other.
Yeah.
My kids still ask about Janessa. and
they gotta hang
they
out.
So I believe in community. My mother's house was always and my mother had me at 17 and a half, almost 18. So, you know, even as a young mother, on the flip side, I was 32 and 33 when I had my kids. So, you know, totally different version of parenthood. But my mother's house, even at a very young age, was always the house. When her and her girlfriends were going out, everybody would come to our house. So I always witnessed, you know, them just, you know, making sure they had something on their stomach before they got out drinking, you know, the first couple glasses of wine before they left out the house. So I'm very much used to, like, I grew up in the party house.
Yeah.
And before that, my grandmother, you know, hosted spades games and bid whist, and, you know, I might have ran a little number or two down in the South. I don't know. She gone and she died innocent. But you know, that's just the environment that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Right.
Like to not have the party house probably just would not even sit well with me. And being able to extend that into the overnights was really just the best.
But what made you do that? Like, what made you be like, wait a minute, instead of people leaving, they should just stay.
Yeah.
Because I tell
People
you
probably
what,
didn't want to leave.
people
Of course they
didn't
didn't.
leave.
Right.
Some of the early parties, like I could literally go outside, like literally my routine after a party at the first house, 23rd Street. I would come downstairs, check both bottom levels, and see who didn't make it home. There might be, you know, a dabbed out Dubs on the couch. There might be, you know what I'm saying? Like you just never knew. So then I'd have to look outside, see who ended up in a hammock in the morning, because that happened too. And so I would literally count the people that didn't leave and start scrambling eggs and popping toast in the toaster. And, you know, before I
That's
had
what
a
the
bud and breakfast, a
all-inclusive,
bud and
right.
breakfast
Just
had
in
me.
you.
I know that's right.
It's just in
So
you
it
to
just
naturally
honestly,
do that.
it happened. It literally happened so organically. Like I almost wasn't even looking. It just really happened.
And the birds agree. Those are the birds. The
Yes,
birds agree with
I
that.
think they're
The birds of the Canna Ranch.
Yes, that's what you guys hear in the background. Because we are LIVE at the Canna Ranch, Canna Cape Cod DC. All right, let's get you to drop some gems, because I know you have some when it comes to navigating this crazy quasi-legal space that we are in, because you already took the lead in the beginning by creating your own path in establishing the bud and breakfast. But I think one of the things that I see a lot of people struggling with is starting where they're at, and I feel like you're an amazing example of that. Like the first Canna Cape Cod, you had to walk through the kitchen to get outside while you're frying chicken.
right.
You know, and you had to walk through the kitchen to get downstairs. You know, it was one bathroom, and you probably had like 30 to 50 people in the space all at once. Matter of fact, no, you said 85 people came to your first wine tasting.
To the first one.
To the first.
I know a lot of people would have been like, I can't host an event in this house. I'm in Southeast, right? You know, you have the ambient gunshot noise in the background as well.
The
so
space, the chases,
right.
everything, yeah.
But you know, I remember one time too, it was around the 4th of July. So it was kind of like fireworks or gunshots. But either way, everybody was just so comfortable in your space. So I want you to kind of like talk us through that. Why was it important to start where you were at, as opposed to trying to work up to the 6,000 and be like, hey, I'm launching with 6,000 square feet. Y'all have to come check this out.
Right. You know what? Honestly, I would say the biggest lesson I've learned in business is being willing to pivot. Just because you know, write down a plan and say, this is what I'm going to do, always be open to letting your clientele dictate what you do. People ask me all the time, like, can you do, you know, such and such? And I tell them honestly, like, I haven't, but that doesn't mean that I can't. You know what I mean? Like, I rarely say no. I mean, you know, when it's good, clean money. There are some things that I've had to turn down. But that's just, you know, to keep the environment the way that I want it for what its intended purposes were. But I've hosted repasses. I've put up every bong in this house, and people not even knowing they were at Canna Cape Cod DC. Wow. Like, we're on sites like PeerSpace and GigStar and stuff like that, where people rent us as a venue where I don't mention cannabis, where I can't mention cannabis.
Yeah.
Right.
So either they get here and they're pleasantly surprised, you know, when they see a little pack of paper somewhere on the side, or they'll ask me, is it okay if we go out back and smoke? And I'm like, you can smoke on the couch if your aunt and uncle are okay with it. You know what I mean? But for me, I think starting where I was at actually added to what is the ambiance of Canna Cape Cod DC, because it was so hood. You know, I lived next door to, I lived across the street from a pimp, which that could go any
Either
kind of way,
at any
kind of
day.
day.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, I had to make people forget everything that they walked past to get to Canna Cape Cod DC. So I really went out of my way to create an oasis that made you forget the curb appeal, because there was none. So honestly, I think, you know, a lot of things that people think are, you know, planned, just some things are just the best accidents. Like at the last location, I didn't necessarily want my neighbors to think that I was Airbnb-ing. So, you know, just because people have a negative connotation about strangers in the neighborhood, you know, different situations.
Messing with their property value.
Or, you know, we were hood adjacent. So we got one side of the street saying, oh, you know, she's bringing down the property value. And then another side of the street saying,
let me come through.
What they doing over there?
Right.
You know, so it's like, I just really wanted Canna Cape Cod DC to be bigger and better than the neighborhood always. Even here, this is a beautiful area, but I still, you know, want the inside to be totally not what you expect from, you know, walking up to it. So honestly, it just opening the door, I make sure that I get an exact arrival time with my guests. And I feel like with GPS and stuff, that's not hard to do.
Right.
If you're coming at 12:17, you're coming at 12:17.
It's going to tell you. Exactly.
It's going to tell you. So I always had this, you know, open door greeting, you know, by name, like, while guests are at the car, I'm like, hey, Ashley, you know, so good to see you. And I did that initially because I didn't want my neighbors to think that these were strangers.
You didn't know them, right?
So I always made it seem like these were long lost friends. Just because you ain't never seen them don't mean that I don't know.
Mind your business.
But that became the culture of Canna Cape Cod DC. I've had so many people tell me, like, you know, I was a little nervous about staying at somebody's house, you know, but when you opened the door and you called us by name, which remember is what the people did to us when I was 19 years old.
Your first bed and breakfast.
So it just, you know, just different things like that just kind of set the culture for what is Canna Cape Cod DC today. But a lot of that stuff, it happened because of the original environment. The music, you know, piped into all the rooms was to hopefully drown out
what's
the gunshots
going on outside,
and the pimp arguing with the new girl that, you know, was already ready to leave. She halfway down the street with her suitcase. I didn't want guests to hear that. But now people are used to walking in to music. And then the thing, you know, the thing that warms my heart the most is when people say, can we smoke in here? Which to me tells me that weed didn't smack them in the face when they walked in the door.
Yeah.
Because if it smelled like weed, you know you could smoke in here. But the fact that you asked meant that, you know, the incense are working, the oil diffusers are working, the candles are lit. Like, you know, I want it to be an oasis first. And then, you know, cannabis is second.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is. Hospitality was always the mission. So, you know, I'm the people that have been with me, like y'all, from the beginning, I'm glad that people can see the progression, because
Absolutely.
honey,
If they can't,
easy.
child.
I done had all these utilities on the payment plan for years, honey, but I knew that it would all pan out. I knew that it was. I'm like, if I bet on me and I'm holding the chips, I ain't got no choice but to win.
To win, yeah.
And
You
so I
can't do
guess the
nothing but
gem
win.
is to be confident in your vision.
Be confident in your vision. You got to believe in you before anybody else will. Like, people, you know, you have to believe it. You have to believe it. I remember in the early days trying to explain what I was going to do to some people. And they were like, oh, like a restaurant. Yeah, no, but not like a restaurant. Like, you can go there. Like, it just, everybody thought like it, well, that sounds good, but, you know, and it was like, no, y'all not getting what I'm saying. And it just, people aren't going to see your vision until it's visible.
Yeah.
You're the only one with the vision. So just because other people don't see it, can't appreciate it yet, that'll come later. And a lot of times, you are in the trenches yourself. There are times when, you know, I'm cleaning up, not now so much, but in the beginning, I'm cleaning up, you know, after a party, and you kind of get resentful, because it's like, man, everybody was here eating up everything. Now I'm the only one, you know, scrubbing barbecue sauce off the walls or whatever. But
Not off the wall.
But you are the one with the vision. You have to stick to it. Like, it's not other people's job to, you know, to see your vision through. It is totally up to you. And don't quit, because you could really quit right before the day that you go viral, or you could quit right before, you know, your business catches the eye of somebody that can really make something happen for you. So,
but it all wasn't like, you know, glitz and glamour for you. What
Heck
did you
no.
have some I almost quit moments, or moments that were like, okay, I have to move away from this, and even though that's something that I've held dear to me and wanted to pursue?
There were so many almost quit moments that I can't even count them. But what I will say is that the universe always provides for me, for the Lucille Verde brand, for the Canna Cape Cod DC. Like, in the darkest times, there would always
What
be...
were some dark times? We want some specifics, okay? 'Cause when you walk in here, nothing seems dark about anything that you have
Okay,
going
you
on.
know what? Okay, most people don't know this. The first location, and this is why I say everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. The first location ended with a fire. But y'all didn't know that the first location almost burned down. I thought life was over. I was ready to pack these kids up and head to North Carolina with my mother, to be honest. And talking to, a few people in my circle, Natalie, Pierre Louise of NPL Consulting, and mainly my entrepreneur friends. Like
The ones who've been through it, who've
the
been
ones
there.
who've been through it. Like, people will look at you like, you can't stop doing this. What you're doing is so valuable. To, like, people were literally looking at me like, well, if you go to, what am I going to do? And I'm
Right.
like, you're going to live your life. Like, what was you doing before you met
Not
me?
without a Taco Tuesday.
But I have so many people now telling me, like, this is the only place I come to, or
Right.
I don't, I'm not a club person. A lot of people have given up, different things that they used to do, and just feeling at home somewhere else is like the ultimate win.
Yeah.
Because you're out, but you're in. You're with people, you're social, but it's tribe. It's not strangers, and even if they were strangers, second J in, they're not strangers no more. So it's been a wild ride. Like I said, I'm currently paying down a Pepco installment from the last location, but I'm fine with that. As long as the lights is on, I'm fine with that.
Amen.
I mean, there's been, choosing not to send my kids back to school after the pandemic.
Yeah.
We refused the vaccination because of health reasons with their dad. I felt like every family needs to work, act on their weakest link. And health-wise, we all had to make a decision for him. And just having the kids in the house all day definitely changed the way that I had to do business. You know what I mean? I didn't have my whole day free to, smoke weed and talk trash and hang out with my friends. It was now I'm like parenting, principal and teaching, janitor and lunch lady. And it was
Counseling, all
that
good
changed
stuff.
the game. But also I think that, every little thing has happened for me. I'm a big believer that life does not happen to you. It happens for you. Things are happening for you. Even the things that might seem negative right now, gears are turning in the background that you can't hear,
You
that
don't
you
even
don't
know
even know
about yet.
about. Like, for instance, this house. And I didn't know if there was going to be a silver lining to this Trump administration. I still don't. But I will say this house was set out to be a sober house. Some people had a government grant. They were going to turn this place into a sober house. Could you imagine Canna Cape Cod DC being a sober house?
Really?
They were going to turn this into a sober house. They were going to, have people facilitate in and maybe three or four different living situations. And, that was the plan. Well, Trump takes over. They lost their funding. The house goes back on the market.
Wow.
So it's like, I didn't know in December that this house existed, that they were going to make it into sober. I didn't know any of that. But all the stuff that was going down behind the scenes for us to find it and for us to, so, and we were looking. Like I said, this was about the ninth house we looked at. Every house was my dream house. Every house that I saw was my dream house. And, didn't even know that the universe was making way for this to be the dream
Well, one of those things you
location.
did do, though, is set the intention, though. I know that you definitely was like, by this time, we gonna be in a new location.
No, I said
And it happened.
last 420, I said, we cannot spend another 420 on 51st Street. We will not spend another 420 on 51st Street. It was standing room only. Like, we had set off the smoke detectors. It was just, It was too much.
You had outgrown it.
We had outgrown it. And we didn't go for more bedrooms this time because the bed and breakfast is okay. The bed and breakfast, we're still building. Pretty soon we will need 5-6 bedrooms. That'll be the next location. But this location was more about growing the venue, just spreading the people out a little bit. So definitely still full steam ahead with the bed and breakfast. But we're doing cannabis weddings now. We have I have a baby shower. Like I said, I do things that are not cannabis related. I'm not doing a cannabis baby shower. I'm doing a regular baby shower. They will the non-pregos will be directed outside to a little smoking area. Yeah. But really trying to grow the business as a venue because I do love hosting. I do. It's easier for me to cook for 50 people than it is to cook for 5. Wow. I'm not even joking. Like I want to toss the chicken wings in a trough. Yes. Like that's my, just
that's what you envision
in a bowl
when you in the kitchen.
Yeah, when I'm in the kitchen, I like to use my arms. So, yeah, I do enjoy hosting. It never I never leave an event thinking that's the last time these it's literally like it's almost like a crash. Because now Memorial Sunday is the next event, and that's like 3 weeks, and I'm just like, what am I gonna do with myself for 3 weeks?
But you
plan it, drop reels, do podcasts, smoke bud, live my life. But I do. I have some overnights. Your
grandmother, it's in your blood.
It is. It is. I come from a long line of productive stoners. Yeah, we're not talking about no burnouts, no crash outs. Productive, hardworking, innovative stoners. So,
I know that's right. Yeah. And so one last gem I do want you to kind of drop is talking about the legal aspect of it. Because again, you didn't take a traditional route. You weren't looking for licensing or ways to legally sell things. You just wanted to be able to operate within the lane that you started.
Absolutely.
What was that like? Learning about like the legal nuances that came with that, and what would you suggest for people that are trying to enter the space? How do you want them to approach that?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I preach this all the time on Instagram, on Rig TV, everywhere anybody will listen. Everybody is not going to have a dispensary. Everybody is definitely not going to have a smoke shop. Some people that had dispensaries don't even have dispensaries no more. So people have to be open to these support businesses, these ancillary businesses. Public consumption of cannabis is still very tricky.
It's illegal.
That's one of the main reasons why I never dreamt of opening a dispensary, because to me, while I love it, I love, the fact that people can do that, to me, that felt very sterile. First of all, we can't smoke in here. I don't want to be here for 8 hours.
Why are we here?
And then to be around all this weed, to me, that would be like working in a restaurant and they tell you can't eat nothing the whole time. Like working at a 5-star restaurant and I can't even take a bite. Like that would drive me insane. I don't know if they're in there popping edibles or what they're doing, but I'm an old school joint roller. An edible is it might do it, but it's not psychologically. I need to smoke. I want to smoke. It's part of my lifestyle. So I knew that wasn't for me. Just like when I was in the salon, I had a 30-year salon career, never had a desire to open my own salon because I knew that for me it was more about artistry. So the same thing with the plant. I wanted to be able to consume the plant, to teach the plant while consuming the plant. So for me, that always meant private property. Public, like you said, public consumption is very much still illegal. You cannot mix it with alcohol. You cannot, do any of those things. But on private property, it gives you a lot of leeway. So my business first is a hospitality business. I'm registered as a hospitality business. And as long as everything that we provide comes with the package, then we are totally protected legally.
But you just mentioned something there, is the education part.
Yes.
When people come here, they're going to learn something.
You're going to learn about this plant. We have isolated terpenes that I can, Like
It's not just come
teach
here and get
people
to
how
get
to
high.
train their nose. If you're interested, now if you want to just lay in a hammock for 3 days and have somebody bring you J's, you make
could do
Canna
that.
Cape Cod
Yeah.
DC what you want. But if there's plenty of literature around. If you want to learn about terpenes, if you want to, do some nose training, I definitely help you with your palate, so that even if you're still in an illegal state, it's mostly the people coming from illegal states that want the more knowledge, that want the education, and that's usually because they're going home trying to get ahead of the cannabis game in their state.
Smart.
They're trying, and I encourage
thinking.
people to do that too. Like, don't wait for your state to
come legal. Yeah.
Yes, you can
Come
do
to
the
Canna Cape Cod and do your research.
and get your
Book
yes.
a room at Canna Cape Cod. and do your
Absolutely,
research, yeah.
absolutely. And so many people leave here with that same feeling that I had when I went to my first bed and breakfast. Like, this is what I want to do, and I encourage people to do it. Do it. I don't view anybody as competition. There's stoners everywhere, and everybody can't make it to Canna Cape Cod DC. So I encourage you, if you want to open up a cannabis-based hospitality business, I'm here. Pointers. I will help you. Like it. I actually wrote a book last year. I published my first book. It's called the 6-Star. It's called the 6-Star System.
Systems. I love a good system.
The 6-Star System.
You
It
do.
is- It's an ebook right now, and I'm definitely gonna follow up with that. But basically, it's based on a statement that a guest made to me. She said, "I wish I could rate this place 6 stars because," she was like, "I've been to plenty of 5-star places, and yes, they make you feel like the most important guest on the premises, like you're it, She said, "But the 6-star that you have found is making people feel like family, making people forget that they actually paid for this." You know what I mean?
It's such a
Like,
compliment.
and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, 6-star, because 5 stars really ain't cutting it no more. I'm out there, I see it. I've gone to places, and it's like, it's always research now though when I travel, because it's like, oh, I could do that. I fixed up my coffee bar after my cousin was in my cousin had surgery at Fairfax Hospital.
Yeah.
Their coffee bar was so nice.
Wasn't
I
it?
took a picture. I came right home and fixed up my coffee bar. Like,
that's right.
I'm always inspired, being in different spaces, and I'm glad that this is inspiring other people to do something similar. But yeah, I would encourage anybody, if it's a rolling tray, a lighter, get yourself a brand, get yourself established somewhere.
Build some community.
Build some community.
important,
Exactly.
yeah.
Oh man, that is so important. Like I was telling you earlier, the seeds that I've planted, the tree, I know y'all know, but a lot of people don't know. All the tree that you see out the ground anywhere, the roots are just as deep underground.
Yep.
You cannot plant a 40-foot tree without 40-foot roots. It just, so yes, you're not going to, I've had people rent the space, for an event, and they think, if I build it, they will come. And it's like, who is that?
Yeah, who are they?
Yeah.
You know
But
what I mean?
another thing that we can add to your roots tie in there about the trees is not only that, but they also connect with other trees
They can
and collaborate
Absolutely.
and work together within the ecosystem
Absolutely.
to continue to thrive. So collaboration is key, as you've done here with your allowing other people to, or not allowing them, but connecting with other creators and using their products to help you to be able to take some of that off your plate, but still provide an amazing experience for people.
And the beautiful thing about placing your product here at Canna Cape Cod DC, especially for the local community,
let them know.
the best part about it is this is a travel industry. So when, people leave here in their goodie bag, this is not stuff that they have to buy. This is in their welcome kit that was
included
on their bed when
in
they
the
got
package.
here.
Inclusive.
So when they go home with district elixirs and, Chef Rosen whipping seasonings and, table 420 merchandise, like whatever they leave here with, I've had people leave with the Canna Ranch glasses. Whatever they leave here with now, those glasses, that product is in their kitchen with their friends. They're showing it to their stoner group in Seattle and, Wisconsin and Nebraska. And, if you can still
Okay, I'm
provide.
nosy, and we're gonna wrap up real soon, but I'm nosy. Where is like either the weirdest place or the furthest place that people have come from to come to stay with you?
So I have a woman that comes every year from Qatar. She's black, born and raised in Washington, D.C., but has chosen to raise her kids
Where's
abroad.
Qatar? People don't know what Qatar is. Where is that?
Like Dubai-ish.
Okay, Middle East type of vibe.
Yeah. When I tell you she's living an amazing life over there for pennies on the dollar.
Right.
She
comes
tells
and
me
spends all her money with you.
She does. And the conversations, and this is what I'm saying, I get to meet people that I would never get to have conversations with otherwise. One of the things that she told me that just set so I'll never forget, she's like, we're over here fighting for rights that it's just a given in the rest of the world. She's like, you really don't understand the power of the American passport until you leave America. Because being a black American in America is not the same as being an America in the world. Being an American in the world. Now, that might have changed a little bit with the whole Trump administration. We're not as respected as we once were.
Yeah.
But literally, like, I haven't even traveled abroad yet. And that's one of the things that I want to experience is just, being an American
international
Canna
Canna Cape Cod.
You never know.
An international
you never know.
destination.
We definitely want to franchise within the United States. I do have a couple of people that, want to do something very similar.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a situation where, I first bring them here. I've actually set up a 6-star system situation where they come here for 4 nights. The first 2 nights is as a guest to experience a 6-star system, and then the second 2 nights is behind the scenes to shadow me providing the 6-star system.
So this is hands-on training on how you can
if this is what you
run your
do,
own bud and
just
breakfast.
don't do it on my block.
Invest in yourself, y'all, and go
I need a radius.
through the Canna Cape Cod.
We're going to have to sign something. Just don't do it on my block, but I encourage you to do it.
But before we get away from that, where can people find your ebook? Because I always want, you to
Okay,
promote
so
yourself.
it will be on Amazon soon. Right now, it's on Gumroad.
Okay.
It is, if you go to the Instagram profile, Canna Cape Cod DC, it's in the profile.
The links. Okay.
Yeah,
And then,
the
so you
link is on
talked
the
about your
profile.
book. That's what you said you can get on what? Repeat that site
On
again.
Gumroad.
On Gumroad.
The 6-star system. Yep.
And it's called the 6-star system. And then you have Lucille Verde presents the Edward, which is your
Essentials.
Kitchen essentials.
Kitchen
and spa
essentials.
line. Yes.
And we didn't talk about the spa
The
line.
spa, so the spa
tell
line
us-
is real quick. It's 3 products. It's a body butter, an infused body butter, an infused bath soak, which is basically an infused Epsom salt mixed with some fresh flowers and different healing elements. And instead of essential oils, I actually use terpenes.
What?
So terpenes specific for topical for skin absorption. So limonene, pinene, stuff that actually aids in absorption. We use those.
Now y'all gonna have to come to Canna Cape Cod to learn about what's
Yeah.
You're gonna
terpenes. So
have to.
unfortunately, we don't have enough time to get into it.
And then the body scrub, which is almost kind of a mixture of the soak and the butter, but it's a little bit looser of an oil. So yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. So where can people find you, and do they have to stay at Canna Cape Cod to get access to the spa and kitchen
Line.
lines?
They do not. That's the easiest and the best way to get it. But no, they can actually go to the Lucille Verde Essentials page on Instagram and just shoot us a DM. Yep.
And how do they book?
How do they? So, Lucille-Verde.com or CannaCapeCodDC.com will take you to the Lucille Verde website. But they can always DM me on Instagram. I'm very
So accessible.
I'm very accessible. I'm very accessible. I've made literally family out of 99% of the past guests I still keep in contact with.
Yeah, and it's always great.
And it's getting harder and harder because it's been a lot of past guests. But literally, I have an ongoing relationship with just about everyone who has stayed here.
Nice.
Even if it's just, sending me cannabis memes or, just saying happy birthday and congratulations on the ranch. But I have an ongoing relationship with every single person.
Nice.
Yeah.
We could talk forever.
We could.
Forever.
About all the wonderful things that you've done and the experiences that you had in this space. But our time is short, so we must go. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining us.
Absolutely. It's been nice to be here.
Thank y'all for coming to me. This is where I am most comfortable.
Don't listen to that and think we're gonna come to you either.
No.
This is special because we
for
definitely
Nicole.
will hope forward to doing some collaborations
Absolutely.
with Canna Cape Cod and the Bud Brunch. So you guys stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Pour up, roll up, let's talk.
All right, y'all, it's time for one of my favorite segments, Puff or Pass. This is where I hit our guests with a few tough choices, and they've got to let us know, are you puffing on it or passing it to the left? You ready, Nicole?
I think.
As ready you're gonna be.
Yep.
All right, the first one, Puff or Pass, music while high or movies while high?
I'm going to puff on music and pass on movies.
Okay, Puff on I'm a
Well,
music
you know there's
girl
a music
too.
spot too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
because I
talked
know all
about
these
that, right?
songs. I ain't going to keep up with the plot of this movie.
That's me. I'm going to have to rewind it 87 times if I'm watching something. All right, Puff or Pass, infused brunch or infused dinner?
Puff brunch, pass dinner, because I need all day to recover from an infused brunch.
Okay. It'd be like that.
Yes.
It'd be like that.
Yes.
Okay. Puff or pass, solo smoke session or group sesh?
You know I'm a puff on the group sesh, pass on the solo sesh.
Do you ever smoke alone though?
Sometimes I just have to. 'Cause I'm not going to not smoke.
Yeah.
But
It's gonna happen.
but my J ends up going out during the time when somebody else would have it.
Yeah.
And I got to relight it on my turn.
All right, puff or pass, rolling a joint or packing a bowl. Just being here with you, seeing I feel like I can guess that answer.
Puff the joint, pass all the glass.
Really?
All of it.
Old
Only thing
school,
I
you
want
need the
glass
paper.
is an ashtray.
Yeah, I know that's right.
And a canneration.
All right, and the last one, puff or pass, hosting guests or hosting events?
Oh.
Think about
I
it.
knew you was going to get me with a dig. That is a very, very close one, but I would say my heart is in the events.
Okay.
My heart is in the events, yeah. Puff
But
on the events. Yeah.
They're all wonderful, though. Each,
Thank you. Thank
staying
you.
here or
And
coming
I
for the
learned
events.
something from every single one. Even the last event I have, there's some things that I'll
Yeah.
never do that again.
Yeah.
Or, that worked
was
out.
it, right.
So, yeah, I just try to learn. Just keep learning.
All right, y'all. That was puff or pass, where there are no wrong answers, just real ones. And you definitely passed the vibe check, Nicole.
Thank you.
Okay, the salad is gone. The waist is snatched already. I can see it's been putting
You
in
could
work.
see me on the beach
all
in a two-piece.
ready. Okay, how are you feeling though?
I was okay, and then I wasn't.
What do you mean?
It's giving me the Canna Cape Cod coziness feel, and if you gave me a blanket right now, it'd be over.
Okay, usually I feel that way when I leave one of Nicole's events, so that makes perfect sense.
Nice and cozy. It's definitely feeling like home.
Well, I'm glad you ate that salad because clearly you're not going to the gym right now. Take a nap.
Now, I will say this. I definitely did not give off any of I didn't taste the weed.
Okay.
So it definitely made my salad taste like a salad. It wasn't anything different to that. And it was nice and light, it blended perfectly.
That's good to know. Like olive oil should do that. It should just, give it a little
juice.
little moisture. Yeah. And so 1 to 5, how many cheers are you giving the Lucille Verde Essentials line Edward Collection refined olive oil?
I could not say that right now.
How many cheers?
Oh, I would give this sophisticated product a good 5 cheers.
I expected that. I mean, just looking at the packaging, I can tell it's very professionally done, and it looks like a good quality oil.
I heard she grew the stuff that goes into it.
She does. She does her own cultivation.
There's definitely, there's that, I'm always about that home grow. So
grow with Lisa.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna give that. That's definitely what takes it from a 4 to a 5 for me.
Nice.
So 5 cheers.
Cheers.
Wow. This has just been a great time at the Canna Cape Cod Ranch.
It has. I'm so glad that we, stepped out of our comfort zone and came to visit her in her element, her space.
And definitely the all-inclusive experience is her trademark with this charcuterie board that we got.
Girl, to them donuts up.
Pre-rolls, the access to the unlimited beverages.
Yeah.
Like, this is quite an experience that you have to definitely check out for yourself. But as for Nicole sharing her stories, man, she
was
really
like catching up with her old friend. She did. She's so easy to talk to, and she's so funny. Like, she cracks me up.
She has stories for days. It's definitely a woman who has lived a life to the fullest and has been out here not only experiencing for herself, but touching others in the process.
Yeah, and you can tell that the people that come here, like she said, they come back and they come back again and come back again. So she's doing something special over here, something magical.
And y'all gotta come check it out.
For sure.
Yes. Canna Cape Cod is the place to be.
And next episode, the hempress herself is pulling up to the Bud Brunch table. We're talking to a true hemp visionary who's made it her mission to source or create everything from hemp. From get hemp butter to custom kicks, she's turned the plant into a full lifestyle. And we can't wait to sit down and dive into her story. We'll be sitting down with Kyla Hill of Get Hemp Butter. This one's for the builders, the dreamers, and anybody who's trying to leave a mark. Kyla's up next on the Bud Brunch. That's it for this sesh, y'all.
I'm your co-host, Lucille.
And I'm your co-host, Ashley.
And this is the Bud Brunch, where we do it
for the culture,
for the community, for the conversation. Until next time.
Bye.
Ready to be a bud?
You know you want to.
Subscribe to the Bud Brunch on YouTube and Spotify, and let's brunch and blaze together.
Cheers.
Sitting alone, are you watching the same sky?
This episode of the Bud Brunch was hosted and produced by Ashley Stafford and Lucille Nyankale. Special thanks to DC Scrogger for donating the equipment that helps bring our voices to you. Music for this episode is licensed and used with permission. You can find those credits in the caption. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Looking through the night, find me in